There's a certain way of doing business, doing entrepreneurialism that I trust, that I have faith in. I think, I'm going to give it the big one, but like since a fairly early age, I was involved in many startup businesses. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that since the age of 14, this is just the way that my family was, I would have been, so now I'm 40, involved in probably over 40 different startups of some form. Obviously, most of those failed. So I have a certain approach, and there are certain things that I like to see. And I think there's an ethic. I think the issue of entrepreneurialism comes down to a certain ethic. And you do need to have a certain mental toughness as well. And there are certain disciplines that you must stick to make a business work. And make no mistake about it, you make it work. It's not, nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to hand it over to you. The market doesn't work like that. And that's a beautiful thing. It's one of the things that, it's a subject I haven't spoken about much in public at all, but it's the kind of consultancy work that I've been doing for years now. Since 2010 was the first time that I worked on somebody else's project. And it's all of it, from the beginning, the concept where you're writing your ideas down in the kitchen on the back of a piece of paper, or an old Chinese menu, or Indian takeaway menu, wherever you wrote your business ideas down, to actually putting money in the bank, to actually developing the brand, to hiring people, to moving things forward. There's a certain attitude you need. And the first attitude or belief that you need is a hard one, which is nobody gives a fuck. Rule number one of business, of sales, of marketing, of entrepreneurialism: nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about your story. Nobody cares how hard you tried. Nobody cares where your idea came from, nobody cares. And if you can go in with that sort of tough, sparse attitude, you won't get emotionally hurt when you find out there in the big wide world, in the cold market. You won't be hurt when you realize nobody cares. Because what tends to happen in business, what tends to kill business, and make no mistake about this, when they tell you like 80% of businesses fail, it's fucking nonsense. It's 99.99999% of businesses fail. If we count all the businesses that were there in concept, that were there in conversation, that could have worked, but nobody took it forward because they didn't have the bravery and the strength to make that happen. And it takes bravery, because you're putting something out there in the world. What tends to happen is people make the restaurant, they buy the restaurant, they put the logo up, they make the nice menus, they spend all that money, they get the loan to make it look nice, and then they just sit there. And they hope that people are going to come in, that human beings are just going to come in and give them money in exchange for their service at a level where they can make a profit. Or people set up a website and they have a great product and they have a beautiful looking website and everything is great, and they just think that once that's there, that's on the high street of the internet, the traffic will just come. And then they're hurt when that doesn't happen. But that's not how businesses work. There is, and you will say to me, well, I know of cases where that did work. And I'll say, yes, but they're the exceptions that prove the rule. Some people get lucky. Their first business, their first attempt of their first business works, but usually not. Usually there's a huge amount of failure. There's a huge amount of heartache. There's a huge amount of pain, and it's emotional pain. It's a heartbreaking experience or it can be if you're unprepared, as I was. Because I've successfully grown my own personal 3 out of probably 15 of my own attempts. And those 3, to get them to work, to get them to the point where they were making a decent profit, it was hard. I have friends who ask me about it. They go, how do I set up in business? I'm like, you really need to ask yourself if that's what you really want to do. It's because they look at me and they see my easy breezy attitude, and I'll get like stupid comments like, oh, well, all you did was, if I'm doing business consultancy, all you do is chat to people about concepts. And I'm like, well, yeah, from a certain point of view, all I do is chat to people about concepts like marketing, like separating, making a clear distinction between the sales process and the marketing process? Yeah, I suppose so. But if that conversation, where it's just an exchange of concepts, drives their profits up, their net profits up by 15, 20, or in some cases 75%, or well, in one case it was like 500% over a 6-month period, through that, having that conversation. And you go, well, that sounds like bullshit. You can't get that from one conversation. You can, because if you're working for yourself, the chances are really high that if you've built a business, that it's actually riddled with problems, and you say, well, I'm turning over a profit. And I would say, yeah, which we all can do, but it's working despite itself. So the key concept is nobody cares. So you have the emotional toughness to go, okay, nobody cares about this. It's my job to make people care about this. It's my job to make people care about this business. The second rule, or the second belief that I would carry forward and share with you, is people are really only interested in themselves. So the first thing that they're going to be asking when they look at your business, when they look at your product or your service, is what's in it for me? And don't hate that, love that. That's good psychology. Now you're in a good, because you do that, I do that. I'm not looking at the airline and going, well, how hard did the managing director work? I don't give a shit how hard he worked this year. I want to fly in comfort at a reasonable price from this place to that. I don't care what the business, what the company's gone through to get there. I don't care, nor should I. Don't expect people to care. They shouldn't. It's none of their business, and it's not for us to expect them to care. Now, once you have done a certain thing, which is the third thing that I always come back to whenever I'm offering people advice with this. Once you've done this certain thing, you will find them caring about your business. But that also is for emotional reasons. And the third thing is, only at first, if you're growing a business, at first, at second, and at third, at the beginning and the middle and the end of your story, of your narrative, of the business flow, because every business has a flow. It has like steps that people go through, and it's one way. It's a one-way flow that your customers are going through in order for you to be turning over a profit. Is you must be focused on offering value. If you start focusing on how to squeeze as much money out of your market as possible, the chances are really, really high that your business will dry up. Focus 99% of the time on how you can offer more. So why then, if you've done step number 3 and you're focused more on how you can offer more, why then does the market suddenly care? For an emotional reason. The human beings who are now buying from you, who are receiving all that value, they now experience attachment, and I'm using the psychological term attachment, to you, to your brand and to your service, because you made them feel good feelings, good emotions. They're like, wow, I went to that restaurant, I got that service, I bought that product, and I was really happy with it. And they feel good. They attach to you and to the brand. It's love. It's love. If you're running a good business, you'll be trading on love. Not necessarily, well, I hope not romantic love, but when you say, oh my God, I love that music. Oh, I love that car. I always get these jeans because, I just love this brand. That love. But that's what you are trading from. You've got to inspire that in your market. It's if you like, it's almost like a psychology and emotion-based way of moving things forward. When you come from that perspective, everything will change in your business. Everything will change. If you're focused on generating love and attachment through offering a massive amount of value and really over-delivering on service, you won't be struggling for cash. You won't be struggling to make sales. There's just no way. Why? How can I say that with such confidence in such a cocky way? Because nobody's doing it. Or very, very few companies, very few businesses do it. This is how business owners, they strangle their businesses to death. Most. They're either slowly strangling or they're quickly strangling their businesses to death because they're restricting the flow of love in the business because they're not focused on giving. Focus on giving first. If you're focused on giving, you're perfectly aligned with principle number 2, which is the market only cares about what's in it for them, and you're avoiding the pitfalls of principle number 1, which is nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about you. They're interested in what they want from the business. Focus on giving them what they want. You will have success. No tricks required. Cheers.